Hey everyone, Cynthia Ray here, and today on Thursday Live, I'm going to be talking to you about food and mood and how food is affected by our emotions and how much we eat, how much we mindlessly are unaware of exactly what it is that we're doing with food and how to resolve our issue and catch ourselves in the act. So we can manage our weight better and our health and our emotions, especially. So today I am still in Southern California and I'm visiting my family here, enjoying our time here, and just wanted to share with you a little bit about what I is near and dear to my heart as far as nutrition goes. I think one of my favorite topics to talk about is food and mood. I've always been curious for so many years about people and why we do what we do. I remember my mom saying that when I was a little girl, I used to ask why all the time. Why is it that the sky is blue? Why is it that this building looks like this? Why is it the rock is this color? And I've always wanted to know why. I could get an answer, but I always wanted to dig a little bit deeper because I really wanted to understand the underlying issue. Why is it that it is that way? Not just that because it is or whatever, but actually the deeper issue. So when I'm looking at food and mood, I really love to get a bigger understanding of why it is that we do what we do, and why do people eat when they're bored? Why do they eat when they're happy? Why do they not eat when they're frustrated, scared, lonely, angry, overwhelmed, and or that they eat at those times as well. So I love this topic. I love digging in. I actually read a book, I don't know, a few years back called Food and Mood. And for me, it was pretty much defined all the things I was looking for that were lacking in my understanding in this area, and really helped me to help my clients better in my practice, and really understanding why they eat what they eat and understanding the emotions that are causing them to choose specific foods. So this is a great topic. I love talking about it to you all and sharing it. And in my practice, it was something that came up regularly. Um, yeah, so that's for today, and I hope you enjoy this. So my name is Cynthia Ray, like I said, and I have been in private practice as a registered dietitian for about 20 years now, and we just recently moved to Idaho with my family. I'm a homeschooling mom of 3 kids and love educating, love learning, especially alongside my kids, and just teaching them about life and experiences. And yeah, so it's really, really fun for me to teach and live and learn. So today, like I said, we're talking about food and mood. So let's go ahead and dive in. I have a few slides to share with you here. Let me exit this. And I just prepared these kind of on the fly because I'm traveling and wasn't exactly sure how I was going to be able to do my live today. I was actually thinking about doing a replay, but this topic's been kind of really on the surface of my mind lately, especially with all that's happening with the world, and how anxiety and mood can affect our eating. So let's talk about that today. So food and mood. And before I start, I want to get an idea, if you're watching this recorded, because it's recorded today, watching this recorded and on Facebook or wherever you're watching this, feel free to comment along as you watch in the comment section of the Facebook group. And let me know what types of foods that you notice yourself going to when you're feeling stressed, angry, bored, tired, overwhelmed, frustrated, stressed, if I said that already, tired. What kinds of foods do you go to fulfill an emotional feeling? What foods do you go to when you're not hungry, but you feel like you need to munch on something? Or even what types of foods do you go to when kind of like out of habit? So I know some people will go to certain foods, like, oh, I'm going to sit down and watch a show. I'm going to grab some popcorn or some chips or whatever it may be. So what are those go-to foods for you that you just eat out of response or association regularly, or just you go to when you're feeling emotional? So go ahead and share those with me in the comments section, and we'll see what we have in common. Okay. So feel free to share that. Even though this is recorded, feel free to share. So I'm just going to go ahead and dive right into this. So the food that I've noticed to be the most common for people to go for when feeling emotional are carbohydrates. So whether they are salty and crunchy, sweet and creamy, warm and creamy, whatever it happens to be, as far as emotional eating goes, it tends to be a carbohydrate-rich food. It can also be a carb and a fat that really helps to calm somebody down and kind of feel like they're getting a hug. So in my practice, what I have done before with my clients is when they're describing to me non-hunger eating, obviously it's eating when you're not hungry per se, I always ask them, well, what types of foods do you eat when you're feeling snacky? What types of things are your go-to foods? And many times I'll ask, okay, is it salty or crunchy? Is it sweet or creamy? Is it warm and creamy? What kind of food it is it? And many times they'll share either like chips and salsa or popcorn, things like that are kind of more crunchy and salty. And right away, I realize that they might not realize, but the emotion they're most likely feeling is frustration and anger and boredom as well. So boredom can actually be categorized as a feeling of anger. So if somebody's eating salty crunchy, I'm thinking, oh, what are they angry or frustrated or bored about? And let them know that, are you feeling that way? Are you feeling those feelings? And they're usually going to say, yeah, I'm usually anxious or frustrated or bored or angry. And having those crunchy foods actually helps me to relax. And it's very interesting because biochemically within our brain, we start to feel that release of serotonin with that crunchy food. That crunch actually releases serotonin and allows us to feel relaxed and calm. So I don't know if you ever noticed, but I've always noticed the coaches for basketball teams, like professional teams or even college teams, are always chewing or chomping on gum. Even like baseball, players, they always crunching on something, have something in their mouth, whether it's sunflower seeds or gum or tobacco, whatever it happens to be, they're crunching on something or chewing on something. And that actually is releasing those brain chemicals to help them, to allow them to relax and calm them down. So pretty much it's like an outlet for fight or flight. So salty, crunchy, or crunchy, chewy, whatever it happens to be, is actually providing a calming effect to you in whatever area you're in, whether you're just at home and you're stressed, or if you're coaching a sports team or playing a sport or doing anything that's going to cause stress, you're going to go for something that's crunchy and salty or chewy, like gum, things like that. You may have noticed that too if you've had those foods before. The other one that's very calming, and you hear about this a lot. So for example, you might hear about comfort foods. So comfort foods we typically know as warm, cozy, thick, fatty, carby foods that are comforting. And I've had clients in the past, I can remember one particular client telling me that when she was feeling lonely or sad, that she would curl up into her bed, get all her jammies on, take a shower, get her jammies on, basically set up the scene, get into her bed, cozy up, put on a good movie, and grab something to eat, whether it was a bowl of ice cream or something comforty, some kind of comfort food, something warm and rich. And she would sit there and eat it, and it would give her the full effect of the comfort that she was lacking. So as you could tell, or even ice cream, sweet creamy will give you the same effect. So as you can tell, what we select for food when we're not hungry is based on our mood to provide a drug effect, a calming effect into our system. So when we're feeling stressed or angry or frustrated or whatever, we're rarely reaching for caffeine, right? We're wanting something to calm ourselves down. And the thing is, food can act as a drug, and it does. So we need to understand that when we're eating, when we're not hungry, our body's wondering, why is food coming in right now? I'm not hungry right now. I don't need anything to eat right now. So what should I do with it? Well, assuming that maybe there's a possibility that there might be a famine or lack of food in the near future, I better store it in fat cells to use as reserves for energy and basically as a way to sustain life. So you need to understand that when eating regularly when not hungry, your body's going to do that and put on weight. However, on the other side, when you're eating when you are hungry or eating waiting for hunger to come, then you're going to notice that you'll be more likely to maintain your weight. So it makes it super easy. You don't have to count calories. You don't have to measure food. You can just do it by listening to your body. So eating when you're hungry, stopping when you're satisfied, and moving on, waiting till you're hungry again. And I know that there's times where we eat because it tastes really good and like the cookies are fresh out of the oven and it's the perfect moment to eat something tasty. And that's okay once in a while, right? But if you're finding yourself eating out of emotion or non-hunger on a regular basis or somewhat consistently, you're going to notice that you're going to put on weight gradually, right? So the idea is to eat when you're hungry, stop when you're satisfied, and your weight will naturally maintain itself. And of course, regular exercise too is a huge part of this whole factor. So really think about it. If you're not sure why you're eating when you're not hungry, you might want to look and see what it is that you're eating. Am I eating something salty and crunchy? Am I eating something sweet and creamy? And stop and think before, or even while you're eating, kind of become mindful of it and curious of what it is, what you're eating, why it is, why you're eating it, and identifying the emotions that come along. All right, so of course, we know the long-term effect of non-hunger eating is weight gain. So we really want to get a handle on this. Not only that, but it's super important to acknowledge and know what you're feeling so that way you can take care of yourself and give yourself the right medicine for feelings instead of feeding them. All right, so let's go on to some solutions. So how to end emotional eating. And again, this is something I've used in my private practice for years and really has helped so many, including myself, to really understand and identify emotional triggers and how to stop them in their tracks. So I can remember a friend was telling me one time, that she was really struggling with putting on weight, and all of a sudden, over the years, this weight came on and she wasn't really sure why, but she didn't know that she had gotten much busier with work and that when the kids went to bed, it was finally her me time. And she could put on whatever show she wanted to watch. Kids were in bed, husband was occupied doing something else, and she could grab a little something sweet, maybe a little piece of cake or a cookie and a coffee, and turn the TV on and just be, which is fantastic. However, it seems that the emotional eating to calm herself down or relax, or however, the association of relaxation with food was allowing her to put on weight and more over the years. So when I asked her about it, I said, oh, do you find yourself, eating when you're not hungry? Or are you maybe hungry after dinner when the kids are in bed and now you want a little snack? And she would say, you know what? I never thought of it. But the reality is that I'm actually not hungry, that I just associate that time with I can finally breathe. I can finally sit down and enjoy myself. All the kids are asleep and I can just have me time. So that's a tough one because she's interpreting it as self-care, which it kind of can be, but it's actually allowing her to put on weight and be more of a detriment to her health. So maybe instead of using food to calm herself or to feel like she deserves it or as a treat or a gift or anything like that, I thought maybe she could use a non-food reward, right? So taking a bath, reading a book, calling a friend, just relaxing, and maybe if she has a hot tub or a warm shower, or watching a show without food, things like that would not bring food into the picture, but would actually give her that same effect. And sometimes people grow up that way, associating food with comfort, associating food with love, associating food with relaxation or me time. And sometimes too, you'll notice, or I've noticed, and maybe you've noticed too, that if you haven't given yourself enough opportunities to have a time for self-care, maybe getting a massage, getting your nails done, going for a walk by yourself, getting up early and having some time to yourself to read or do chores or relax, then we resort to food to calm ourselves down or relax, and do it on a regular basis instead of doing things that are actually going to be helping us grow and prosper and just have better health and longevity. So it's really sometimes can be a lack of self-care on a regular basis that leads us to wanting to eat and for comfort and relaxation. All right, so let's talk about how to identify it, times when we're eating emotionally, and how to stop it. So the first thing you can do is just practice mindful eating in general when you're not emotionally eating. So the best thing to do is just to sit with your food whenever you're eating, set your intention. I intend to sit down whenever I eat and taste my food. And if I'm standing, I'm going to sit so I can enjoy my food and eat slowly and actually taste the flavor of my food and enjoy it. So that in itself is just being mindful, being aware of what you're doing with food. Then when you'll be kind of conditioned to that when you do it on a regular basis. Then when you find yourself standing at the refrigerator and scrounging for food, pull up a chair, bring a chair to the fridge and sit down. And there's something magical about sitting down when you're eating. It just completely changes your mindset and creates a mindset of mindfulness. You suddenly become mindful when you're sitting down. And it's so easy with so much happening around us and, so many distractions and things. It's so easy to become mindless and just eat food without really ever tasting it or experiencing it. So once you get used to, and your body's more accustomed to eating mindfully and purposefully, then when you go to get in those moments when you're eating emotionally, you can be like, oh, wait a second. Even if you started, you can, wow, I'm mindful of myself grabbing food or doing something habitual to eat something, like if I'm watching a show or something and eating, that, you know what, I don't know if I really need this. And it can even be wine. Maybe you're drinking wine or having a beer and sitting down and watching a show, or having wine with dinner with your spouse, but drinking a little bit more than you normally do could also be emotional drinking or emotional eating. So you want to use the acronym HALT. So if you notice you're grabbing food and you're like, oh, wait a second, this isn't right. I'm eating when I'm not hungry. What do I really need right now? So the acronym HALT is hungry, angry, lonely, and tired. And on that one, I like to add an S on the end for stress. So you can check in, you know what? Am I too hungry? What's going on? Am I too angry? Am I feeling really lonely? Am I just totally exhausted and tired? What is it that's going on right now? Am I really stressed? Am I overwhelmed? What's happening right now? And just acknowledge those feelings. What's going on? Be aware and curious about what you're feeling, and knowing that the food might help temporarily to calm yourself down and help you to center yourself. But in the long run, it's going to lead to weight gain and not ever actually taking care of the emotion that you're wanting to take care of, or the feeling. So instead, you have to take care of feelings with feelings, right? So what I like to recommend is, once you discover what it is that you're feeling, walk away for 20 minutes to 30 minutes or longer and just get yourself busy, or address the emotion. You can journal about it. I'm feeling, this way, what's going on? And just kind of get curious about what it is that you're feeling and put it in your journal. Maybe call a friend and talk about it with someone. I like to spend time in prayer and ask God what's going on, get some direction, read my Bible, maybe even take a hot bath or shower. I heard that's very effective for calming cravings and things. You can go get some exercise, go get some fresh air, go for a walk. And I even like the idea of organizing something, like grabbing out your purse and cleaning it out, organizing that. But just make sure to stay out of the kitchen and don't organize your kitchen. But just keeping yourself busy, doing something else that's going to fulfill your need other than food. So at first, it's going to be super hard. And when you're going over to organize your purse or your closet or whatever it happens to be, as you're doing that, you're going to notice yourself thinking about the food. It's calling you back. It's talking to you. You're like, oh, I just really don't want to go there. I remember when I was in college, I remember having a project to work on my computer, a paper or something. And I had some candy. I think it was like peanut M&Ms in the fridge. And all I wanted to do was walk away. I had a few, got some energy, just needed to refresh my mind. I went back to my computer and I couldn't even focus on my paper. All I could think about were those peanut M&Ms that were in my fridge. So I think I don't remember exactly what happened, but I think I went back to get some. I waited a little bit, but went back to get some, and I might have even finished them and thought, wow, that was interesting. I really didn't need all those M&Ms, but what I really needed was a break. I just wanted a break from what I was doing and a breather. And maybe I should have or could have instead went out for a walk, got a drink of water, talked to my roommates, got distracted, maybe do a little exercise, something else. Because I know I wasn't hungry. I remember that. I was maybe a little snacky, in my like mouth hunger, but not actual physical hunger. So that will happen. And I remember how hard it was to stay away from those M&Ms. It was years ago. I don't actually remember, but I just remember that feeling of the battling the food. Like, why do I feel like I keep thinking about it? Why is the food keep calling me? And it's so hard to stay away. So anyhow, step away for about 20 to 30 minutes, doing something else to distract yourself. And then you may just forget about it altogether. Or you just may want to go back to it. But what I would say is the goal is if you're going to go back to your food, go back and maybe get some water first during those 20 minutes. And what was I going to say? So distracting yourself for a little while. And if you come back to it, make sure to come back to it waiting till you're hungry again. So make that commitment to yourself. Okay, I'm not going to go back until I'm actually physically hungry. And that could be challenging too, because sometimes when we're very emotionally hungry, we're like convincing ourselves that we're physically hungry, but we're actually not. So it takes work and practice. It's challenging, especially if you conditioned yourself to cope with emotions that way. But if anything, just being really aware and starting that process of mindfulness. And if you do decide to go back to the food, make sure to eat it mindfully. Sit down in a chair, spread it out, take one bite at a time, notice the taste, texture, color, flavor, all of the properties of the food, and just eat that food mindfully. And you're going to find that you're probably not going to eat as much, and you're definitely going to eat as quickly. And the food just may lose its appeal and its flavor. So give that a shot and see how that works for you. If anything, experiment with that. When you're at that place, you can check in with your hunger. You can say, okay, I really want something to eat right now. I'm feeling kind of like I'm crunchy. I want something in my mouth. But am I hungry? And how hungry am I? So just checking with your hunger. Is it emotional? Is it physical? And then if you're noticing it's noticing emotional, then get yourself busy. If you're noticing it truly is physical, same thing, still eat mindfully, grab something to eat, warm it up, sit down and enjoy your food. And then once you're done, checking in with yourself to see how satisfied you are at the end of the meal. All right, so just to review, because I know that was a lot. If you are noticing yourself emotionally eating, halt, stop yourself. Check in with yourself. Am I hungry? Am I too hungry? Am I really angry? Am I feeling lonely? Am I just exhausted? Or am I stressed or overwhelmed? Then when you identify your emotion, then walk away for 20 to 30 minutes or more and find something else to do, like organizing your closet, organizing your purse, organizing your office area, going through mail. You could even call a friend, take a hot shower, take a warm bath, go outside, get some fresh air, go get some exercise, or journal your feelings and just acknowledge what's going on. And you're going to maybe feel that the food is calling you back, but set your intention to wait the time and just see what happens. Experiment with that and see what happens. If after the time's up and you still feel like you want some food, then go ahead and choose mindfully what you're going to eat and then sit down with it and eat it mindfully. So, let me turn this off here. Eating mindfully and seeing how you're feeling, checking in with your hunger when you're done eating. And you may find that when you sit and eat the food mindfully, that it doesn't have as much appeal anymore. So just give that a shot and see what happens. It really does work. Okay, some of the common mistakes that people fall into when they end up, I guess, kind of setting themselves up for emotional or non-hunger eating or overeating really, is waiting too long to eat. So a lot of times we'll get busy or like, oh, I'll eat later, or just life gets in the way and things get hectic and we forget to eat. Or, you feel like it's not really a priority in the moment and you put it off for way too long. And now you're too hungry. And almost every time, if you wait to eat till you're too hungry, you're going to get too full. So it's very hard to stop ourselves from eating quickly when we're too hungry. And like you may know, it does truly take 20 minutes for your mind to give your stomach, actually your brain, to give your stomach the signal where you are on the hunger scale. And if you're still hungry, if you're full, if you're stuffed, if you're neutral, however, you really need to give yourself that 20 minutes time so that way you know exactly where you are hunger-wise. Like I was saying before too, if you're eating mindlessly or doing things thinking that you're using the food to care for yourself emotionally, you're probably not spending enough time in self-care. So finding what it is that you can do more of, that you enjoy, particularly specifically, that would give you that feeling of feeling cared for, feeling valued, feeling loved. So there's so many things people do. I know for me, I like to go get a massage. I like to get my nails done. I like to always, each morning, I love to get up early and spend time with God, reading my Bible, meditating, and just getting some work done in a quiet house. For me, that's a huge thing. I really value that time and protect it. So make sure that when you find what it is that you love that fills you up and makes you feel valued and doing something, for your family or just building yourself up, make sure that you guard that time, whether it's exercise or hanging out, having social time with a friend, whatever that fulfills you, make sure to guard that time because it really is special and it's really important for your overall well-being. And it'll help to offset any emotional eating because you'll have some time with other people to communicate how you're feeling and things like that. The other thing that can happen too is you may feel like you're overwhelmed. And overwhelm usually comes from lack of planning and organizing. So if you are able to do some meal planning in your day for your week, or just planning out your schedule in general, you're going to eliminate or limit the overwhelm that you're experiencing. So make sure that you're planning, I guess. And it's so amazing. I mean, when you can meal plan and know exactly what is coming for the next meal and don't have to wonder or stress or start cooking and wondering, oh man, what are we going to have for dinner tonight? Or what are we going to make for lunch or breakfast or whatever? When you know in advance, that stress in itself goes away. So the more you take care of emotions with emotions, the more centered you'll feel and the less hectic and overwhelmed and less likely you will be to go to food to calm you down. So a lot of times people, like I was telling you before, associate food with comfort. So just being aware of that, seeing, maybe checking, maybe with your upbringing, what is it that your family did with food? What was the message that they gave you about food? Did your mother feed you as a as a sign of her love for you or symbolic of her love for you or care for you? Did your teacher in your classroom shower you with extra treats when you did something really good? If you got, we're doing a fun game in class and the teacher rewarded you with candy or treats instead of toys or, maybe accolades. So maybe you associate doing something well with treating yourself to something, sugary or some kind of a snack type food. So what was your upbringing like? What do you experience or what do you associate food with as far as emotions go? So you might want to check in with that and see, and start to just kind of get curious about that too. What is it that food brings me when I'm not hungry? Why is it that I choose to eat when I'm not hungry? So just check in and see what that's like, and it'll help you to be more mindful of times when emotional eating may come into play for you. All right. So the last thing that I want to do is I would like to have you put it into practice. It's always one thing to learn something, but if you're not actually doing it, it really has no pull. There really does nothing for you. So unless you take what you learn and put it into action, you won't see change, right? So each time I do a class, I want to give you a little homework or I put it into practice and just experiment. There's no judgment, there's no grading, there's nothing like that happening with this homework, but experiment and just test it out. With experiments, you get many results. So what I want you to do is I want you to put what we've learned today into practice by practicing mindful eating and or planning meals and seeing how those two things can help you prevent you from mindless eating, emotional eating, overeating in general, and start wondering, why is it that I want to clean my plate? Why, even if I'm not hungry anymore? What food associations do I have? When I go to the movies, do I have to have popcorn or a snack? When I sit down to do a project, do I have to have a snack with me? It's funny, I was noticing probably a few weeks ago that when I was doing schoolwork with my daughter at home, she's in kindergarten, and she just wasn't, interested or whatever, but I knew that we had to get it done. She was eating a snack and I brought over her schoolwork, and then actually what probably happened was I was doing schoolwork with her and she wanted a snack and she wasn't really attentive before the snack. And when she went to get a snack because she was hungry, she brought the food with her and I started reading to her and teaching her about her math or spelling or whatever. As she was eating, I noticed that she became a lot more alert and a lot more interested in what we were doing. So for her, there's already created that association with that the food will make it more interesting or more fun. So I'm wondering, if you have something that you associate food with or how it may help you do things better or maybe stay awake. Sometimes people will eat just to stay awake, especially at work if they're feeling tired, as something to do to occupy their mouth and their time. Planning meals, of course, is a big one. I just said that. So if you can get some practice with meal planning, I have a video that I did a few weeks back on how to meal plan, the steps of meal planning that I think would really be helpful for you. Actually, I know it would be. It gives you the exact tools that you need and steps that you need to take to make meal planning easy and something that you can do for a long time and not feel burnt out on. So go back to those videos and see if you need some help with meal planning. But knowing what you're going to eat in advance is a huge time saver, and it eliminates the overwhelm of that part of your life. So practice mindful eating by, like I said, sitting down in a calm environment, you and the food, and if you could find, an area without distractions, just really noticing the texture, the flavor, the smell of the food, and then taking bites one at a time, making sure not to grab the next bite until you've finished and swallowed the first one. So that's just basic mindful eating, just being really aware of what you're doing with your food and noticing how it tastes and how you like it, what your impression of it is. If it's something you really love, if it's something that you just ate just to eat because you couldn't find anything else or it was easy to make and you got it done. So just practicing mindful eating is a huge a great way to allow you to eliminate or limit the amount of emotional eating that may occur in your life, and plan your meals so you know exactly what to eat and when you're going to eat it. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. It was just kind of put together last minute, but I really love talking about this. I really enjoy the practicality of it because I know it's something that many people struggle with or may not be aware of that they're doing and wonder, how did I put on all this weight when I'm usually eating pretty healthy? But it's just a culmination over time of habits that we may do that lead to a long-term result. So anyhow, I hope you enjoyed this, and make sure to put this into practice and let me know how it's going. What are you thinking? Which of these two things, please comment below in the comment section, which of these two things, practicing mindful eating or planning meals, do you feel like is the one that you're going to go with for your homework? Which one do you feel is the best thing for you to get you more aware and maybe even eliminate the factors for the probability of non-hunger eating or emotional eating? So whether it's practicing mindful eating or maybe just planning out your meals. So comment below and let me know what you plan to do, and then we'll continue this conversation next week. Talk to you soon.